Hello and welcome to Factorio Fixit. My name's Negative Root and let's get cracking. We have another map today, this time by Gnostomancer. 9.5 hours, not bad. He's got blue science up and running, so he's going well. No logistics robots, so in terms of where he's up to, he's getting a good way through this factory. Now he's got alien technology on the way, which is very, very nice. So yeah, let's have a quick tour of the base and see how it all looks. Now, notice that we've got red science, and actually he's using a bit of buffer storage here, which, you know, I don't know about that. Like, normally red science is fast enough to, you know, keep up with anything, but in this case he's using, yeah, a bit of buffer storage. That's alright though, you know, that's how he likes to build. I think, you know, there is plenty of buffer storage throughout the factory, which is very, very nice to see. And it just means that research will keep going. This is nice and expandable. You know, if Gnostomancer wants, he can head up this way. Now, I'm going to refer to him by Gnostomancer because that's a pretty cool name. His other name is Dragooth, I think, on Reddit. Now, this is set up for purple factories. Not purple factories, purple science. Now you notice that that's going along slowly. So when we have alien technology, we'll be able to introduce the purple science packs. Now we got green science going along nicely. Seems like it's keeping up with the demands, so that's very good. Now, as we move through the factory, we start to see a lot of this kind of idea. There's a lot of spaghetti, shall we say. So what I'm going to attempt to do this episode is sort out as much of the spaghetti as I can and try and get the factory working a little bit nicer. Now, what we're going to do, oops, it is me after all, so we're going to use a splitter here, and we're going to have something like this going on. Okay, same thing, no spaghetti. Because remember, U-turns are generally bad in the schemes of things. Now, looking here, we have, there's one lone copper cable factory feeding this one lone electric circuits factory. So what this really needs is more. Now, the issue is though that it's all pretty cramped together. I notice that we have a nice laid out base, you know, there's plenty of room to spread out, but Gnostomancer has kept it really compact. So I think one big tip would be to, to take a bit more room to do everything. It is okay to spread out. The maps are, after all, unlimited unless you set the size. So, how would we fix this? It's a bit of an interesting question. You can see that because of the inserter stack bonus, we're doing okay here. So what I might do is just rechange the limits here and just increase the size. And what I need to do is actually move this over by a little bit. I think we'll be able to get away with it. Notice he's using this splitter idea to split his requirements off the main line. Very good idea, that. Now what we can do, right, is move this all down by one now. And in this way it'll fit it all in. So now we can grab a fast inserter, that'll run that, that will run that, that'll run that, and we'll just grab a power pole and that will run everything. Okie dokie. So that seems to be all working not too bad now. Now what I'll do is I'll just reverse this, because you'll notice that there's two things sitting on the end of this just not being used. Now what we need to do is come underground, and what I'm thinking is we will That's okay. So what I'd really like to do here is actually get a second inserter running. The way we're going to do that is by changing this all around. So if I can get a second inserter going, that would be really, really good. So our belter's going to have to do something like that in order to work. Now what I want to do is just move all this over a little bit with a splitter. Okay, ideally what we'd do is move this back and just move the entire line back, but ain't nobody got time for that. Now right, so that's all going nicely. Now our problem is iron, so that's good. We've just completely shifted the focus around and, you know, made it work a little bit better. Now then, let's move on through the factory. We'll notice that our smelting is quite small at the moment, and this is something I'd probably look at upgrading if I was going to continue to play. Gnostomancer did mention that in his email, that he's in an awkward kind of transition phase at the moment where he's changing things over in his factory. So that's something he's already got planned. Now we'll just have a quick look at this setup here and see if we can help this out. Now it looks very confusing, and it kind of is, but we'll do our best to straighten it out. I'm going to start with this here. Now what I want to do is pick these up. Okay, now we've got buffer storage here, so that's fine, but what we want to do is just straighten it all out so that it's got less curves and hopefully works a little bit better. So what we want to do is something like this. So see how that tends upwards? Now the other way you could do it is do it this way and come here and then belt something like that. Okay, that's one way of doing it. But the way I'm going to do it is a little bit squarer. So that's all going to work out nice. Okay, there we go. Same build, less corners. And this kind of strategy is often a good idea when you're going to be dealing with larger and higher throughput builds, because as soon as you start turning up the speed on everything, you really start to need good solid mechanics in order to get everything to work nice. Okay, same thing. But now what we can do is have more space to do stuff here. Now, there always seems to be a lot of things sitting on, you know, like two things on a belt. That seems to be something that Gnostomancer does a lot of. Now, that's not necessarily a bad idea because it makes routing things easy, but you just want to not do it too much. Like for example, this red circuit factory is only ever going to take care of this little thing here. It's not really ever going to do much more than that. Now, let's see if we can have a look at this. So all this is backing up, so that's nice. I'm just trying to make sure I'm familiar with the system and what's been set up. I don't want to go changing it all. That'd be no good. Okay, so this is all backing up, which is nice. And then we've got a little bit of buffer storage, so that's really cool. But what I would suggest is running, say, 100 max in buffer storage. I normally run with 50. but my builds are normally pretty robust and pretty quick, so I don't really need too much. Insofar as fixing all of this, it seems to work. We might just try and straighten this out. So to do the same thing, right, the less corners. Now what we could do, I should come here with one of these and do something like that. Okay, there we go. So I want to change something else here. Because right now, okay, this is putting higher priority on things than this. So what we'll do is we'll just introduce yet another splitter. Okay, that's going to split half away. That's going to bring half back. Okay, this looks confusing as shit, but what it's going to do, right, is it's going to make sure that 50% of the circuits that get to here will actually get through. Okay, so let's follow it. So it comes in, right, 50% come here. We don't need that anymore. It's probably confusing matters. But 50% will come into here, and then the remaining 50% will come here, and it'll go half onto this one, and therefore half will be available, only available for here. But if that fills up, you'll notice that it'll go through, and the other half will come around and be guaranteed to get to this. So that's how you guarantee that build. And you'll notice that it's all just a bit straighter. The throughput on this will be a little bit higher than all the corners. Now, so we've got green circuits being shifted around the factory, and that's fine. The only thing is that you generally want to be building your circuits on location. So have, you know, dedicated circuit builds where you go 3 copper cable constructors to 2 circuit assemblers and do it that way. Rightio, let's see if we can have a look at another part of the factory. Let's see that this is all very compact. It's all smacked into, you know, a really tiny space. You know, very impressive, that's for sure. But you know, it just makes the job harder. So that's all okay. Apart from that, that's not okay. How to do it? Yeah, oh, that's okay, I think. Look, effectiveness, it works. Without a major redesign of this, it's not going to get better. So, you know, sometimes you're better off just leaving it as is and soldering on with your game. You know, you don't want to be forever remaking your factory just because, you know, something isn't perfect or it doesn't match up with something someone said somewhere on a random YouTube video. You know, you make it work. That's part of the game. Now, same goes for this in here. This is an absolute mess, and without a redesign, it's not going to work. It's quite impressive how small of a space Gnostomancer has made it fit. You know, it's incredible. And the only kind of advice I have is, yeah, to spread out a little bit more and take a little bit more space. It's lucky, though, that flying robot frames is such a small throughput build. You don't really need too many of them, and you're okay. But I did want to point out something here that is very, very smart, and I hadn't actually thought about it yet. Now, what it is, right, is this smart chest is being... Okay, so we've got a pipe factory, right? And we've got one pipe factory running 2 things. We're running an engine factory and also a just like a storage chest, bit of buffer storage. And what Gnostomancer has done is he's come up with a way of preferring the buffer storage over the engine factory, and it's done through a smart inserter. So this smart inserter, right, is only working when this is full. Okay, when there is It's saying, right, work when there's more than 150 in whatever your red wire is attached to. And it's attached to this smart chest. So in that way, we've got this factory preferring the buffer storage. Once the buffer storage is full, this will start working, and the engine factory will start working. So that's very, very smart, and I actually hadn't thought of that before. And I am fully going to flog that idea. That is really cool. So yeah, he's got plenty of robot frames waiting to go, ready for logistics robots. Now the temptation will be to actually, start stealing these. What I would suggest is actually making, another circuit factory somewhere up here, throwing down, some really solid builds to get green circuits and then red circuits up and running. The amount of red and green circuits you need in the late game is pretty incredible. Something else we need to do while we're here. None of this is needed. With purple science, all you need is one assembly machine, and you need to fill it up with your productivity modules. So the productivity modules are the purple ones, and what it does, right, is it boosts your productivity. So the machine will create extra products at a cost of increased energy consumption, and that's what you want for purples. By the time you get to the top level 3 productivity, they're quite expensive, but if you can fill an assembly machine 4 with them, you will get a boost of I think it's 1 in, actually productivity is plus 10%, so you would get 40 plus 40%, so that will be basically 1 in like 2.5. Every 2.5 alien artifacts you would get a free one, or actually every 2.5 purple science packs, you'd get a free one, which is very handy. That means you have to spend less time hunting down biters, more time playing around with your factory. So I might call it quits there. We've had we've still got a couple of minutes to go, and I'll continue to do a tour of the base, just to show off the remainder of the builds. I don't really think I'll be fixing anything, because there's not really anything to fix. No, Gnostomancer's doing quite well. So we notice we've got a nice big solar setup happening, and the capacity of this is quite strong. At 13 megawatts, it's running completely on solar power now, which is really, really cool. He's made the switch. Now, something he did tell me about was this. Oh my god, it's a mess. The fuel lines had been switched off for the boilers and the steam engines are across the other side of the base. So he mentioned that all of this needed to be removed. It just hadn't got around to it yet. Now with the oil setup, you'll notice that this is all everywhere. It's an absolute nest of pipes. What I would suggest here is, straightening these things out. Getting, for example, I'd spin this around to, I don't know, here-ish or something, and then run everything off that. Run it, the refineries up here, and then have, your storage here, things being split down into their respective lighter grades of oil, and then being taken off to various other parts of the factory to then be used to create the various oil products. Now, notice over here, I like this a lot, right? So he's found a little patch of copper, little patch of iron, and he's put down a little just contained factory to do nothing but solar panels. Very, very cool. I like this idea a lot. Now, looks like it could use an upgrade though. So we'll see if we can upgrade it as much as we can. Okay, we're just waiting for the iron. Okay. what I probably would have done here is I would have set this up just a little bit differently. I would have, from my iron plate, I would have come into a splitter, split 50% into the steel, and then had 50% guaranteed to run down here. Would have had a copper plate being handled on both sides and run into a factory. But this is a very cool idea, and this is actually one I'd suggest people do in their own games, is if you have a little patch, right, where there's a little bit of iron, a little bit of copper, yeah, put down a solar panel factory. That's a really good idea, because you do need tons of them. Like, I'm talking like 2,000, and 2,000 times that is a lot. Like, if you look at the electronic circuits alone, 2,000, you're looking at 20. Well, there's there's 30,000 electric circuits right there, without getting into anything too high tech. So, you know, you want to keep that in mind when you're building these things. You know, you're going to have to come up with some really, really solid builds, and you know, having your own little detachable solar panel factory really helps things along. So I might call it quits there. This has kind of handled everything, you know, deconstruct this, and yeah, this factory is quite good. So thank you very much for watching this episode. If you'd like me to play your save, be sure to email it across to me. I'd love to have a look. And yeah, thank you very much for joining me.